All right. Welcome to Milonga Mascarita, the podcast that was Carnaval de mi Barrio, one of the epic anthems of tango. I'm Ray Rudowski, the host of Milonga Mascarita, the podcast, where we talk about issues and personalities and secrets and stories surrounding tango. And with me is a very special guest. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this. And we've met several times over the years here in Hong Kong. And I think before I introduce you, I want to kind of look at the topic, which is going to be a look at the history and the stories and maybe some personal experiences and how to stay positive in your dance in these very sort of difficult times that we face around the world. And my guest today from Buenos Aires, Argentina, where it's sunny and summertime, but it's the evening now, is Milena Plebs. Thank you for
Hello,
joining
how
us.
are you? Thank you, Ray. Very nice to talk to you tonight. For me, it's tonight.
It's been an amazing knowing you. Now, Milena Plebs, for those who don't know her, I'm going to characterize this as one of the great dancers, choreographers, gran maestra, a producer of stage tangos and theater productions. And also, I think very importantly, is kind of that second generation from the old milongueros who still has contact with them. And we'll talk about all of that. But first off, how are you dealing with these lockdowns that have faced the tango community around the world? What impact has that had? And how do you stay positive?
Well, the impact is enormous because it's the first time that we don't have milongas in Buenos Aires for so long. At least in my tango journey, because I started dancing tango in '85, and maybe it happened something similar when we had the dictatorship governments, but I didn't dance tango at that time, so I don't know. But it's since 11 March that we don't have milongas in Buenos Aires, and this is something incredible. I still cannot believe that I cannot go to dance tango in Buenos Aires. It's crazy.
What do you
now
think that,
tell me.
Sorry, I was going to say, just adding to that, what is the sort of the impact on sort of your mental state of all of this? Because as a dancer, it's important to stay positive and active.
Okay. I will tell you the truth. I will not say something to just be nice with the people and with the tango. At the first time, I was very, very upset and a little bit mad also, because I couldn't believe that I couldn't go to milongas, I couldn't travel, and I couldn't go out and go to a park. So I was really mad and rebel. Then little by little, you get used to, and you try to, well, let's say, what do I do in this situation? Sometimes I'm positive and sometimes I'm not, because this is life. And also because this is a very unique situation. And it's very complex because it's the first time also for me that for example, this year, 2021, for me, it's like a blank year. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's the first time. So this is also psychologically is something very weird. So what do? I try to train myself, of course, try to take care of myself, take care of my nutrition for the food I eat. Try to do my exercises, my technique, try to keep in shape. But sometimes there are some days that I really don't have energy to do anything, and just I allow this also to happen, because as in tango, you have to, in the feminine role, you have to let yourself go. Okay, I let myself go, and well, sometimes there are some days that I don't want to do anything, and I don't do anything, and maybe the next day, okay, now today let's go, train. Try to also, what I do is try to work on projects. For example, now we cannot do shows in theaters. What can we do? Maybe we can focus more on thinking on audiovisuals, videos. So maybe I try to like think ideas and write projects and try to, I applied to several ¿cómo se dice? Becas,
Foundations
funds,
and scholarships, yeah.
get funds to produce some audiovisuals. So I try to stay creative, use my imagination.
Have you thought about the idea, because you've done a number, I'm going to show a few videos in a moment, but you have done a number of stage productions. Trama Tango was one. You've also been in the movie 1980, was it the 1989 movie Flop, which was also a story that comes out of the history of Argentina. Has any of this inspired you to come up with a story or an idea or a stage play about coping with the lockdowns and incorporating that into a tango narrative?
No, it's the same. We are saying that, and it's the first time I think that could be a good idea. I'm sure that there will be people or choreographers or creatives doing something, because it's a very strong situation, and also dealing with this situation of not being able to dance. No, something for us, tango is something so strong and passionate, and it means a lot of things for us. So not being able to do it provokes many emotions and feelings. So it's very interesting to work with this in a creative mode.
Let's take a step back and look at some of your amazing work. I'm going to start with what you have considered the one of the favorite performances. Let's take a look at this and then tell me about it. This was quite recent. This is with Fernando Carrasco and Viva la Pepa. And let's play a little bit of this, and then tell me about the feelings that this evokes, because this was one of the last performances that you were involved in before the lockdown. Let's take a look. I'll pause it there, and I will leave a link to everything for our viewers to catch up on after this podcast. What do you feel when you see that, Milena?
I was feeling that I feel free when I dance tango. I feel freedom. It's strange, because you depend so much on your partner, but at the same time, I feel free because we are both so involved in what we are doing. And this is that night, I didn't know that that was going to be the last performance before the lockdown. But it was a special night because the organizer, Pepa Palazón, she organized this night with Maria Nieves dancing, Guillermina Quiroga, and Milena Plebs. So we danced, all the three of us. And it was there Claudio Segovia, the creator of Tango Argentino, the show that started with all this success of tango that opened in Paris in 1983. So he was there. So for me, then after we knew that the quarantine, the lockdown, etc., we couldn't dance. So I felt that night it was something like the closing of something, the closing of a cycle. Because I started dancing tango because of Tango Argentino with Miguel Ángel Soto in 1986. And the last performance before the lockdown, Claudio Segovia was there. So it's very, and also that night was incredible because Maria Nieves, she's 85. She was 85 at this moment, and she danced incredibly with Pancho Martinez Pay. It was so emotional that night. It was incredible.
But it brings up the idea that a lot of gran maestros talk about, that every tango that you dance should be danced like it's the last tango you'll ever dance.
Yes, I agree. Even what it happens to me, for example, when I rehearse, if I improvise or if I rehearse a choreography, I do it as if I were doing it in the stage. I don't do it all softer because it's a rehearsal. No, I put all my energy because I need to really feel the sensation that I will have in the performance. So I agree. You have to dance like it's the last one, because maybe it's the last one, you know?
Well, let's never think that way. I always like to think about when is my next tango. And speaking of that, let's go back a little bit in time. I'm going to play some clips for you, and then let's talk about them. This first one is with Antonio Todaro. Antonio Todaro. Stop it there. Antonio Todaro. What are your memories of him? Well, first of all, tell our viewers who he was. Many of us obviously know, but put it into a context for us.
He was mainly a teacher. It was a popular teacher of Argentine tango. He had a very famous academy with Raúl Bravo, together with Raúl Bravo in the 50s, 60s. And we started taking lessons from him with Miguel Ángel Soto in 87. And he really changed our style of dancing, because we were dancing more in the style of copes, dinsel, a little bit more simple. And he put it all this difficult stuff, lots of dynamics and fast boleos and barridas and giros and rosques. So he put in a lot of spice in our dance. and many dancers, most of the dancers of that time, and so end of the 80s and 90s, took classes from Todaro. So he was really the el maestro.
And if you were going to sum him up in the sort of the pantheon or the Mount Rushmore of tango maestros or old milongueros, sum it up in one word. Who was Antonio Todaro for you?
Tradition mixed with show.
Okay.
Yes, because he was all he taught, it was a material that we could use in the choreographies. It's not especially just for social dancing, it's more for performance.
Right. A larger
but
than life
very,
figure.
very authentic.
Let's take a look at somebody else that you mentioned here, because I think that this was somebody else that I wanted to talk to you about. This is Juan Carlos Copes, and I'll play a little bit of this. Juan Carlos Copes.
Juan
You're
Carlos
speechless.
Copes.
Milena, what's happened?
Juan Carlos Copes was the one of the big artists of tango that continued dancing and doing shows while the tango was really down in Argentina. So he insisted, and that's why it's so important, Juan Carlos Copes y María Nieves. And when we entered to this company, big company Tango Argentino, he offered himself for free to teach us, Miguel and I. So during the tours, we were touring in the US. We used to arrive to a city, look for a studio, and go together with Copes, and he used to teach us all his knowledge. No? And I always say that at that time, the teachers used to focus more on the men in the classes. But Juan Carlos was maybe the only one at that time that showed me many details of the feminine role. That's why it's so important for me also.
All right, let's continue your journey. You mentioned Miguel Angel Zotto, so let's have a look. I think this is from a similar time period.
This was in the 90s.
All right, Miguel Angel Zotto, as we continue your journey, how does this evolve in your tango approach?
The thing is that when I met Miguel, when I saw him dancing, I was a contemporary dancer. I didn't know anything about tango. Suddenly I saw the director, my choreographer, Ana Maria Steckelman, invited me to see a rehearsal of tango. She was doing something with tango. And I saw tango dancing when I was 24 for the first time, 23. And I saw Miguel Ángel Soto dancing with her. And for me, it was like a big shock because I was in modern dance, so I didn't have any connection with tango. So Miguel was my first tango teacher. And then together we started dancing, and so we started dating at the same time, more or less. And some months later, maybe 6 months or 7 months later, the directors of Tango Argentino called Miguel to join to the company, and he told them that he was dancing with me. And at that time, I really knew very few of tango, but I had a strong background as modern dancer, and that was very useful for me. So together we did 4 years with Tango Argentino, and then we created our show, Tango por Dos, with a big success, first in Buenos Aires and then touring in Europe, the States, and Asia also.
Is there a favorite artist, orchestra, or even piece of music? The last few clips that I've shown are all from Osvaldo Pugliese. Is there something that you feel about the music that inspires you more about certain orchestras than others? Everybody has their own favorite orchestra or singer.
Yes, for sure is Osvaldo Pugliese, because what I feel that Pugliese gives me like a lot of varieties of moods, of dynamics, of phrases of music, the melody, the rhythm. This I don't know if you know this jockey called this famous Felix Picerna. Did you know Felix Picerna?
I'm not certain.
He was a very, very famous disc jockey in this DJ of tango in Argentina. And when he played Pugliese in the Milongas, he used to say, the symphonic orchestra of Osvaldo Pugliese. So has something very musically speaking, it's big. It's like a symphony orchestra, no? And so I feel that it gives you a lot of authentic feeling of the tango, but also this feeling that is more classical. I like that.
It's definitely epic and larger than life. Do you enjoy the Pugliese with the singers or just the instrumentals? Because the instrumentals are larger than life and that have that epic quality that you describe. And when I play them as a DJ, the floor just fills up. And I think everybody who plays music for milongas has that same experience. They just love that for different reasons. But how about the singers? Do you have a favorite singer with Pugliese?
The thing is that I could say that, for example, when I listen Pata Ancha, for me it's for show. It's not for social dancing. Or I don't know, Chique. Many compositions I feel that are more for performance. But the Pugliese with singer is, for me, is more for social dancing. It's like more, it's not so demanding in terms of dancing.
You also spend a lot of time traveling in the shows, but you also take part in a lot of festivals which are built around milongas or grand milongas. What is the role for you as a professional dancer of social dance?
Well, I love social dancing. When I go, even if I am in a big event, I when I go to the milongas at night, I want to dance. I like to dance. I'm sitting in the table and I listen to this music and I want to dance. It's not something that I will go and I sit and I show myself and show up and that's it. No, I want to dance. I like it. I love it.
How do you inspire new people to take up tango? And I'll just tell you a story that I ran a milonga on Sundays in a bar some years back, and we came up with the idea of having like a little lesson beforehand. And what struck me was that when you go to salsa night or Latin night, they have a little 20-minute or 30-minute lesson, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And even if you've never danced before, at the end of the lesson, you can somehow get up on the dance floor and find somebody who's at the same level as you, and you're dancing salsa or Latin or stumbling through it. But with tango, I realized that when we brought some of the girls up on the floor, and then we like, first you have to stand this way, and this is it, and then the count, and we realized that there were so many different aspects to it that it took 20 minutes just to explain how to do one step, let alone what the basic was. So how do you see a way of inspiring people to come to tango? Because often when I talk to people at the milongas and then, well, what inspired you to come to tango? And it's often almost like this quasi-religious experience. You know, I heard the music and I was somehow hypnotized. I saw a movie and I was, you know, literally seduced into coming into it. But rarely do they have a thing that says tango night, come on out and dance, because it just doesn't have that same connection.
The only thing I could say to encourage people is that, for example, to say you will embrace somebody very tight and in a very intimate way, in a very, very unique way, because the thing is that, for example, if you compare salsa with tango, as you say, in salsa you can learn 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you can start dancing. But in tango, you need to go deeper because it's more complex. And also, you can dance salsa at the end of the class because you dance in a little space. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But in tango, you have to flow around the floor. You have to take care of the others. So that's why you need more time. But I would encourage people to say you will embrace somebody very tight. That is the big difference.
Let me show a couple of other clips that I have here set aside, because I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the idea within tango that, yes, you embrace a partner, but everybody is different in terms of women or followers and men or leaders. There's a different sort of lead. And I want to show 2 clips here that I think are quite strong in their contrast, and then ask you about them. So the first I'm going to show, well, I'll just show it. So this is you and Chicho. I'll pause it there. How, like, again, he is in many ways a sort of forerunner of so-called nuevo tango, even though he's got a basis in, everybody's got a basis, I think, in, you know, the traditional tango. But when it comes to performances like this or improvisation, what is your kind of advice to dancers who are dancing with somebody for the first time, or perhaps are encountering a style or an approach or an embrace that they have never experienced before?
Of course, when you dance for the first time with somebody that you don't know, my advice is that you have to work a lot in your technique, in your own material, to be very, very secure and confident. And that is very, very important, because it happened to me sometimes that I did a performance with a dancer and with no rehearsal at all. It happened. So I need to be very secure with my instrument, with my body.
Right.
But the thing is that, talking about Chicho, I always say that Chicho is Chicho and the rest of the world.
Right.
He proposes a type of dancing that is very different. I don't feel that is my style. Is he's adjusting his dance more to me. In this case, what we just saw, because it's like a different way of dancing. What he proposes, you have to study that special style. For example, I can dance milonguero, I can dance salon, I can dance fantasia, different styles. But this, I need to maybe work more, focus more, need more time to really feel that I'm in the same frequency. I don't feel that I was, but it was interesting, this mixture of two artists that are like coming from different backgrounds. I admire him. For me, it's an amazing artist.
Do you think that tango is going back to its roots, or is it evolving into something else? And where do you see it as an artist who's started out in the 80s when it was having that revival?
Two things. I say that it's very healthy that tango from time to time goes back to the roots, to the simple things. I think it's really, really important not to lose the connection with the tradition. This is one thing. Another thing, what I feel that tango is going more and more to the thing of change of roles, that both are learning both roles. So now, for example, in the past, I used to say the man and the woman, the couple. No? Now I would say like two people that get together, they embrace, and one is taking the action role and the other one is taking the receptive role. But I wouldn't say the man and the woman now. So for me, that change, and I guess it's going, for me, it's going to that side, and it's very rich when you try the opposite role. You understand much more about this dancing. So I encourage to change the roles a lot.
What do you think how has the milonga as a social platform or social space changed from when you first started to now? Because again, you travel around the world, you work and live in Argentina. When you're not doing that, you've seen it from the early days when it had that revival to now. Tell me about that.
What I saw, that I started going to milongas in 1985, is that at that time, maybe till the 90s, you could see most of the people in the milongas, like it was like middle-aged people, older people that learned the tango from the roots directly. I didn't learn the tango from the roots directly. I was coming from modern dance and getting into this world. But maybe when they were young, they were like dancing as everybody, because it was so normal that the people danced tango when they were young. So that was a big change, that most of the people were like milongueros. And now you see most of the people that are people that learn the tango in an academic way, not as tradition that you learn maybe from your father, from your uncle, from your friends that used to be with these milongueros. That is the biggest difference.
What do you think that in this post-pandemic world that we are now approaching and hopefully moving past, that organizers and DJs and teachers in various communities, what can they do that would give you hope for tango to continue to be this cultural phenomenon that you grew up with and have always supported?
The thing is that, I don't know, maybe in 6 months or in 1 year or in 2 years, this will finish and we will be able to dance again. The thing that's maybe some people still will be scared to go and embrace people with this intimate dance. So I don't know. I would like to be in the similar situation that we were before the lockdown, but maybe it will take a couple of years. I don't know what to say to encourage the organizers, because you can put some I don't know the name in English is protocolos. Protocolos is the
Rules
same rules.
and kind of making sure that everybody has a set of you call them protocols in Spanish, but what we did here in Hong Kong was we had a set of guidelines and rules. So I guess protocols would be guidelines or rules
For
for the
example,
milonga.
they created a guideline recently here in Buenos Aires for the milongas, and it's impossible. It's so complicated. It's impossible. It's like anti-tango. It's like the opposite of the freedom of the tango. So I prefer to wait a little bit. Or for example, I prefer maybe to get together with a dancer in a studio and practice, not to lose the technique. No? I don't know what to say. Really, I don't know.
It is breaking new ground in many ways, and I think that everyone is struggling to kind of find something to anchor onto, some hope that we can continue with.
Maybe one of the ideas is to dance with the la máscara, ¿cómo se dice?
Mask.
With a mask.
Yeah. Well, in Hong Kong, and I think other parts of Asia, but I can only speak for Hong Kong because we haven't been allowed to travel since March. But when we started to resume events here, we were very careful in making sure that everybody wore a mask. We follow the government's protocols or guidelines in terms of just social gatherings, social distancing. There were certain things that were lifted, restrictions were lifted on certain activities.
You couldn't change partners.
Well, we kind of had certain part of the guidelines are obviously to do something that makes sense for you. So I think that people were much more careful about who they danced with or how they switched partners. Some people even changed masks from dancer to dancer. They had a certain rule like to change clothes when you came in, so you weren't wearing street clothes. Which many people do already. Like they'll put on their sort of tango clothes when they go to Milonga and then put on their street clothes when they leave. So these were things. Unfortunately, we had a situation, at least in Hong Kong, where there had been an outbreak among the Latin and ballroom community who apparently didn't observe those protocols. But to the Argentine tango community in Hong Kong, to my knowledge, we did not have any cases arising from any of the events. And I think that that had a lot to do with the caution that people took when they approached it. Obviously, there's always a risk in something, but in other situations, people kind of adapted and moved on as best they could.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very difficult situation. I don't know.
Well, let's end it off on a hopeful note. What would be your advice to someone who is starting out in tango or looking at tango as something that they want to take up right now? What should they be thinking about, and what can they do to keep their interest and enthusiasm as we move to
You
a
mean
post-pandemic
now
world?
in this
As we move
situation?
towards a
Yes.
post-pandemic world, Milena Plebs, what is your advice to have the right mindset to continue and to
It's
improve?
the same advice I usually give is to be patient, start from very simple, because if you start from simple in tango, you get the concepts deeply, and then with the time you can do more difficult stuff. But try to find the pleasure on doing very simple things. For example, when I used to dance with these old milongueros, some of them, maybe in one tanda, they had like 5 or 6 combination, and they used to dance the 4 tangos with more or less the same steps. And I don't care, because if I have a nice embrace and we flow with the music, I don't need to do much steps. So this is another thing. You don't need to learn all this fancy stuff to go to social dancing. Nice embrace, elegant walk, simple stuff, listen to the music, feel your partner, enough.
Milena Plebs, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us. And I hope that we can see each other soon, either in Buenos Aires, in Hong Kong, or in some other part of the world. It was, every time that I meet you, I always get this burst of energy. You're always just so full of optimism. And we danced together when at the Milonga here the last time that you were here, and I still remember it. And you were just so amazing in terms of just how it felt for me, but also how much you like put into the dance, where we kind of walked off and it was like, wow, the rest of the night didn't matter at that point for me. And I think that really sums up for a lot of people what tango is all about.
Yes, I loved to be in Hong Kong. I love the food also. And I want to say hello to the tango friends, all the friends, especially to Camping Healer and to Auntie Morusa.
Thank you so much, and we will speak soon. Gracias. Vaya con
Gracias.
Dios.
Chao, gracias. Chao,
Ciao.
chao, chao.
Let me just, I'm going to stop our recording here.
Then you can